We will take a look at another part of this interview featuring Keith Wilson and Glenn Beck. Here, enjoy.
It's become a dark time up here. The thing is the progressives, the lefties, and the rest of the country seem to be really happy with this and want government to give them more. We have our notional free health care. Now we have free dental notionally, free prescription.
Have you been to the doctor lately? The wait times in Canada are totally out of control. They were out of control 5 years ago. Now it's clown world. 3 hours, 4 hours, 12 hours. You want to see a specialist, 2 months, 4 months, a year and a half.
And almost free daycare. Of course, the government can't deliver any of those things. They're all, they're as real as Mickey Mouse.
I would contend.
I could go on and on. I'm sure you watching this could go on and on about the problems of the healthcare system.
Mickey Mouse is realer than that, but
Probably true.
The State Department, the mouse is very powerful, at least south of your border. The State Department had a meeting, a second high-level meeting in Washington, I think on Monday, and our administration is eager to recognize Alberta as an independent state or country.
Okay, so this is interesting.
Can you give me any insight on what is happening on this side of the border, and what does that mean with our relationship with the nut job parts of Canada?
So I actually do not know the exact date this interview was recorded. I will say that. This clip is from X.
Well, sure I can. I received a briefing from that delegation yesterday. I think the Trump administration is very concerned about what's happening in Canada. We're your largest land border. What's interesting too, just a friend of mine, actually one of the people involved in the Freedom Convoy protest, is a retired Army captain up here, and he explained to me that part of the defense doctrine for the United States post-Cold War is a concern about Russia and or China teaming up and invading the United States from the north. So that invasion would come through Alberta, right? And you're smart enough, you're not going to wait till they get to Montana. You're going to come up here. So Alberta is very important strategically as well. In fact, we have the most amount of military bases in Canada are in Alberta, and the largest ones. So
Cold Lake, I remember that one in Cold Lake.
We're very important strategic for a number of reasons. Also geopolitically, look what just happened with our...
Also the fact Canada has been leeching off the American military for security for so long. It was only a matter of time before somebody, in this case it's Trump, becomes president and looks at the books and goes, why are we contributing to NATO so much more than Canada, than Spain, than other NATO countries?
NATO Secretary General said today that he expects most member states to meet their spending quota by the end of this year. When he says most, is Canada on track to be part of that group?
Absolutely not. There isn't even a political discussion in this country about how to reach 2%. That's on either side of the aisle. Neither the Liberals nor the Conservatives have committed to getting towards 2%.
What an embarrassment, but let's have a bunch of unrealistic climate targets.
Politically, look what just happened with our leftist ideological Prime Minister Carney. He and his colleagues Steimer and Macron and one other unilaterally announced that they were going to recognize the state of Palestine at the same time that the Trump administration is making progress and trying to negotiate a peace deal.
Okay, so I guess this interview is probably a little bit ago, but man, that was stupid. That was not as dumb, I don't think, as the Carney Davos speech. I don't think there's any coming back from that for Carney. I think Trump is going to be hostile to Canada for as long as Carney is the leader.
Canada recognizes the state of Palestine.
The administration in Ottawa is doing a lot of things. We have this Chinese corruption, political interference thing. The Chinese government has police stations. So there's a lot of things for the U.S. administration to be concerned about. about what's happening in Canada at many levels from many different lenses, as I've just described.
And this interview does sound like it's pre the China-Canada trade deal or whatever that was when Carney went over to China. It sounds like this interview happened before that time.
Then you have Alberta, where our Supreme Court of Canada has said that if a province and the people of a province hold a province-wide referendum, a vote, and the vote is to leave Canada and become their own nation, that they can do so. Canada is unique in the world in that we're the only democracy where the government, the Constitution, the courts have laid out a legal process for a region, a state, or a province to secede and become their own independent nation.
I didn't know that. The only country? That's incredible. I did not know that at all. That is very interesting.
Province to secede and become their own independent nation. And one of the critical steps in that process is international recognition. So my understanding from the meetings that have occurred that the Trump administration officials have indicated that the U.S. would recognize a vote by the people of Alberta to become independent.
Good.
So that's very important to us as we...
The elbows up crowd will lose their mind over that, but that is a good thing. It makes sense that an independent Alberta would be a strong partner with the U.S. and vice versa.
We expect the vote to occur in 2026, sometime around this time next year. And I think the Trump administration also recognizes you guys have right above your border in Montana the third largest reserve of oil and gas in the world. Look at the power of that, the energy independence. It takes you from an energy superpower to a mega superpower. So, and then we're completely culturally aligned. So I think there's a recognition, and Canada's, the leftists in Ottawa are being global disruptors.
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
They're not helping. They're helping build these governments with this anti-freedom, anti-Christian phenomena that we're seeing. It's hard to believe it's happening, but it is. So, it's an encouraging fact that these discussions are occurring.
Keith, please stay in touch with us. Anything that we can do to help, but
I hope Keith goes back on Glenn Beck's show because this interview was amazing.
I want to make sure America understands, the world that we are right on the brink of losing or changing, and how dangerous these times are if we don't all keep our level heads. And I've been watching you with great interest on what's happening because, if we have better access to Coulter Wall, I'm all for it. So,
Sasky boy.
God bless you. Thank you for everything you do, and please pass on to your Canadian friends. There are millions of us who pray for you and are with you.
So I guess that's the end of the clip there. Canada would be such a better place if there were a bunch of Glenn Becks around. I really think Canada has struggled a lot from a lack of voices like Glenn Beck. Maybe that's starting to come I don't even think it is. Like Glenn Beck, Bill O'Reilly, Rush Limbaugh, Tucker Carlson, a bunch of those strong right-wing voices in America act as a counterbalance to some of the left-wing voices. For so long in Canada, CBC, CTV, all of them, Global, City, I don't even know if those ones have been around for a while, but obviously all the mainstream media is very left-wing, and there hasn't really been historically that much of a counterweight to that. But if you look at America, there's Fox News. And again, some of those people that I mentioned there, there's a whole bunch more too. There's a very strong conservative talk radio in America. And of course, now there's a bunch of strong YouTube channels and stuff like that. But anyway, I'll finish the video there. Thank you very much for watching. Shout out Keith Wilson. Shout out Glenn Beck. Have a great day, everybody. Like the video and subscribe. See you later.